Rain hit the marble steps like tiny fists. Elise stood there shivering, barefoot, her thin nightshirt soaked through to her skin. Behind her, Rylan walked back inside the Atherton mansion, without looking back. "You failed me again," he said, and the door closed. She was still holding the sonogram picture. What would you do if the person who promised to protect you pushed you out instead? Have you ever stayed silent because you loved someone who stopped loving you back? He was not always like this, and she was never supposed to end up begging for a place in her own home. 3 days earlier, she lost the baby. The doctors said stress caused it. Stress that Rylan created with his constant criticism, his cold silences, his obsession with how things looked to other people. He wanted a perfect wife who gave him a perfect heir. When her body failed to deliver, she became useless to him. The night she miscarried, he did not hold her. He asked how long until she could try again. She remembered the early days, his hands on her waist at parties, the way he touched her only when someone important was watching, never in private, never soft. His fingers always gripped a little too hard, like he was claiming property, not holding a woman. That was not love, that was ownership. Now she walked through cold Bay Area streets at 2 in the morning. Her feet bled against the pavement, her stomach cramped from hunger. Every car that passed made her flinch. Every shadow looked like Rylan coming to drag her back. But nobody came. She reached San Francisco by sunrise, exhausted, empty, invisible. The city moved around her like she did not exist. Businessmen rushed past. Tourists laughed. Nobody stopped. She found a wall beside a convenience store and slid down against it, pulling her knees to her chest. The sonogram was still in her hand, wrinkled now, wet. She pressed it to her chest and whispered to her baby. Soft words, apologies, promises she could not keep. She forgot, for a moment, that the baby was already gone. She was not supposed to survive the night, but the morning forced her back to life. Elise woke on cold concrete, throat dry, body stiff. The sun burned through gray clouds. People stepped around her like she was trash on the sidewalk. No money, no phone, no one to call. Have you ever hit a point where you had to rebuild from scratch? Do you know someone who had to start life over with nothing but the clothes on their back? Pride would not let her beg. So, she found another way. She gathered bottles from recycling bins and traded them for a few dollars. Then she bought water bottles and small snacks from a discount store. She set up near Union Square, spreading her items on a cloth she found behind a dumpster. Tourists walked past without stopping. Locals glanced and looked away. Some people held their bags tighter, like she might steal from them. She was not a thief. She was a wife once. She had a home once. She carried a baby once. Now, she was a woman selling water bottles for survival. Her mind kept drifting back. The wedding night, the white dress, the hope she carried into that bedroom, thinking Rylan would finally show her tenderness. He did not. He turned away from her the moment it was over. Like she was a task completed, a box checked. Her body remembered longing, not pleasure, just the ache of wanting something she never received. Days passed. Her voice grew hoarse from calling out prices. Her hands cracked from the cold, but she kept going. Every dollar meant another night she might survive. Then one afternoon, the crowd shifted. A man in a tailored coat stopped in front of her small booth. He did not rush past. He did not look through her. He looked at her. Really looked. Like she was not invisible at all. Someone is about to notice her worth. He did not see a street vendor. He saw a woman carrying silent heartbreak. Callum Drake stood tall, dark coat pressed against the wind, eyes fixed on Elise like he was solving a puzzle. His jaw was sharp. His presence was calm. Everything about him said money and power. But his voice came out gentle. How much for all of it? She blinked. All of it? Everything you have here. Have you ever met someone who changed your life with one small act? Does kindness ever scare you because you are not used to it? She told him a price. He handed her triple without bargaining. Her hand shook as she took the bills. He noticed. His gaze moved to her collarbone. A bruise sat there, faded but visible. Rylan left it during their last argument, his fingers digging into her skin while he screamed about her failures. Callum's jaw tightened. He said nothing about it. Not yet. When did you last eat something warm? She could not remember. He walked her to a small cafe nearby, bought her soup, bread, hot tea. She flinched when he reached across the table for the salt. He pulled his hand back slowly, understanding, without being told. "I am not going to hurt you," he said quietly. She wanted to believe him. But every man who ever said that eventually did. Still, she ate. The warmth spread through her chest. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she held them back. "Thank you," she whispered. He studied her face, the dark circles, the hollow cheeks, the way she held herself like she was waiting to be hit. "You are running from someone," he said. It was not a question. She did not answer. Before he left, he asked one question that made her chest tighten. "Is someone hurting you?" Her silence told him everything. He was a stranger, yet he was the only one who offered her a place that felt safe. Callum walked her to a small, clean hotel near the waterfront. Nothing fancy, just warm, quiet, private. "Stay here tonight," he said. "You do not owe me anything." Have you ever been afraid to accept help? Can kindness feel more intimate than touch? Every instinct screamed at her to refuse. Trauma had taught her that no man helps for free. There is always a price, always a demand waiting behind closed doors. But she was so tired. He handed her the keycard and stepped back. He did not follow her inside. He did not linger at the door expecting something. He just gave her space. "There is food in the fridge," he said. "I arranged for someone to check on you tomorrow. A therapist, someone safe to talk to." Her throat closed up. Words would not come. He understood anyway. "Get some rest?" Elise. He knew her name because she told him at the cafe. Hearing it from his mouth felt strange, warm, like someone finally saw her as a person again. She went inside. The room smelled like clean sheets and lemon. The bed was soft. The bathroom had hot water. She stood under the shower for a long time, letting the heat soak into her bones, letting the water wash away days of dirt and fear. Later, she heard a knock. Callum's voice came through the door. "Just checking you are okay. I will not come in." She cracked the door open. He stood in the hallway, hands in his pockets, keeping his distance. "Thank you," she said, her voice cracked. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she did not, he lifted her chin gently. His thumb brushed her jaw. Not claiming, just grounding. "You are safe now," he said. She slept on a real bed that night, unaware that Callum was downstairs making calls that would change her life. She had not smiled in weeks. But the moment she touched flour again, her soul woke up. Callum learned something about her during their conversations. Before Rylan, before the marriage, before everything fell apart, Elise dreamed of owning a bakery. She loved to bake. It was her escape, her art, the one thing that made her feel whole. Have you ever found yourself again through something you love? What dream did you lose because life got too hard? He rented a small kitchen space for one afternoon, told her it was hers, no strings attached. She walked in and saw stainless steel counters, mixers, bags of flour and sugar, everything she needed. Her hands trembled as she tied on an apron. For hours, she worked, mixing dough, rolling croissants, piping cream into pastries. The kitchen filled with sweet warmth. Callum watched from the doorway. Her focus amazed him. Her calm. The way her whole body relaxed when she worked. This was the real Elise. Not the broken woman on the street. Not the ghost Rylan tried to create. This was someone with fire inside her. When she finished, she brought him a chocolate croissant. He bit into it and closed his eyes. "This is incredible," he said. She laughed softly. The sound surprised them both. A smudge of chocolate sat on the corner of his lip. Without thinking, she reached up and wiped it away with her thumb. Their eyes locked. Her breath hitched. His did too. A slow, simmering spark passed between them. Not rushing anywhere, just existing, growing. "I want to invest in your dream," he said quietly. "A real bakery. Your name on the door." Tears spilled down her cheeks. Happy tears this time. The first hopeful tears since she lost her baby. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you doing all this?" He stepped closer. His voice dropped low. "Because you deserve someone who believes in you." She did not know how to respond. Before leaving that night, he said something that stayed with her for days. "Elise, do not disappear again." For the first time, she was not sure she wanted to. She did not plan to knock on his door at midnight. Her legs brought her there before her mind caught up. The phone call came that afternoon. A doctor from the hospital where she lost her baby. The miscarriage caused internal scarring. Future pregnancies would be high risk, maybe impossible. The news hit her like a fist to the chest. Have you ever wanted comfort so badly you walked straight into someone's arms? Has grief ever pushed you toward an unexpected connection? She wandered the streets for hours. No direction, no purpose. Just walking until her feet ached and her lungs burned from the cold night air. Somehow, she ended up at Callum's building in San Francisco, his penthouse, the place he stayed when business brought him north from Los Angeles. She pressed the buzzer before she could talk herself out of it. The door opened. Callum stood there in a gray t-shirt and sweatpants. His hair was messy. His eyes went wide when he saw her. Soaked, trembling, broken all over again. He did not ask questions. He pulled her inside. Steam rose from her body as he wrapped a warm towel around her shoulders. She shook so hard her teeth chattered. He guided her to the couch, sat beside her, and waited. Then she broke. Sobs tore through her. Ugly, raw sounds she could not control. He pulled her against his chest and held her tight. His arms stayed steady even as she fell apart. "I cannot have children," she choked out. "He took that from me too." Callum said nothing. Words would not fix this. He just held her. Later, when her tears slowed, he cupped her face gently. His thumbs brushed wet strands of hair from her cheeks. His forehead pressed against hers. Their lips met, slow, hesitant, nothing forced, just two people reaching for each other in the dark. She fell asleep on his chest that night, his heartbeat steady under her ear, his fingers tracing soft circles on her back. She whispered his name in her sleep, and he finally admitted to himself that he did not want her to leave. He woke before sunrise, not because of habit, but because she was curled against him like she belonged there. Elise stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, then went wide with panic. She pulled away fast, sitting up, clutching the blanket to her chest. "I am sorry," she stammered. "I should not have come here. I do not know what I was thinking." Have you ever felt guilty for healing too fast? Do you know the fear of wanting someone new after heartbreak? Callum sat up slowly. He did not chase her. He did not grab her arm or demand she stay. "You have nothing to apologize for," he said quietly. "You needed someone. I am glad you came to me." She looked at him like she did not understand, like kindness was a language she forgot how to speak. They shared a quiet breakfast at his kitchen table. Eggs, toast, coffee that warmed her from the inside out. Their fingers brushed when he passed her the sugar. Neither of them pulled away. Soft glances, soft smiles, something growing between them that neither wanted to name yet. But guilt crept in. Rylan's voice echoed in her head, telling her she was nothing, telling her no one else would want her, telling her she did not deserve happiness. She stood abruptly. "I should go." Callum rose with her. As she moved toward the door, he stepped behind her. His hand touched her waist lightly. His breath warmed her neck. She closed her eyes. For the first time, she felt desire without shame. Want without fear. Her body leaned back into him before her mind could stop it. "You do not have to run," he said softly. But she did, because staying scared her more than leaving. She walked out his door. Behind her, he whispered her name. She froze, heart racing, but she kept walking. He did not kiss her this time. He waited for her to come closer. Days passed. Elise threw herself into baking. She rented time in a shared kitchen and worked through the nights, filling trays with croissants and tarts, and loaves of bread that sold out by noon. But her mind kept drifting back to Callum. His steady hands, his patient eyes, the way he never pushed. Have you ever met someone who respected your pace? Do you know how rare that kind of patience is? She showed up at his door one evening with a box of pastries she baked overnight, a peace offering, an excuse to see him again. He opened the door and smiled when he saw her. They sat on his balcony watching the city lights flicker below. She told him about her childhood, about her mother who taught her to bake, about the dreams she buried when she married Rylan. He told her about his father, a cold man who measured worth in dollars. About the sister he lost to illness when he was young. About the walls he built around his heart to keep from hurting again. Two broken people finding pieces of each other. "I have been looking at spaces," he said, "for your bakery. There is a spot in Palo Alto. Good foot traffic, big windows." Her chest tightened. "You do not have to do that." "I know. I want to." She stood and crossed to him. Her hand touched his arm. Why do you care so much? He looked up at her. His fingers circled her wrist, softly. Heat moved through her body, spreading from that single point of contact. Because you deserve someone in your corner, he said. Their faces drew closer, lips brushing, almost touching. She pulled back at the last second, breathless. He smiled. No frustration, no pressure. When you are ready, he promised. She turned to leave, then stopped. Her teeth caught her bottom lip. A signal he understood too well. She did not go to him for comfort this time. She went because she wanted him. The next night, Elise stood outside his door again. But something was different. Her shoulders were straight. Her chin was high. Fear still lived inside her, but it no longer controlled her. Have you ever reclaimed your body after someone made you feel small? Have you ever taken control of your own story? He opened the door. His eyebrows rose when he saw her expression. Elise? She stepped inside, without waiting for an invitation. Turned to face him. Let the door close behind her. I am tired of being afraid, she said. I am tired of letting him live in my head. I want to feel something good again. Callum studied her face, looking for doubt, finding none. Are you sure? She answered by crossing the room and kissing him. Her lips pressed hard against his. Surprising him, claiming him, he responded slowly at first, then deeper, his hands finding her waist and pulling her close. She pushed him backward until he hit the kitchen counter. Her fingers worked the buttons of his shirt. His lips trailed down her neck, her shoulder, the curve of her collarbone. This time, she led. She set the pace. She decided what happened and when. He followed her lead without question. Gentle when she needed gentle. Hungry when she pulled him closer. They moved from the kitchen to the bedroom. Clothes fell away. Skin met skin. Every touch erased a memory of Rylan's coldness. Every kiss wrote something new over the old wounds. It was raw. It was tender. It was built on trust, not control. Afterward, she lay wrapped in his arms. Her head rested on his chest. His fingers traced lazy patterns on her back. At dawn, she woke to find him watching her, a soft smile on his face. Like she was the best decision he ever made. The world saw him as untouchable. But today, he led her into a part of his life no one else had ever seen. Callum invited her to a business dinner in Beverly Hills. Tech investors, real estate developers, people who measured success in zeros. Have you ever walked into a room where no one believed you belonged? How did you prove them wrong? Elise wore a simple black dress, nothing flashy, but she held her head high as she walked beside him into the restaurant. Eyes followed them. Whispers started before they reached the table. She heard fragments. Who is she? Where did he find her? She does not look like his usual type. Callum's hand pressed against the small of her back, steady, reassuring. He introduced her simply. This is Elise. She is important to me. The executives nodded politely, then returned to talking about market trends and investment portfolios. One man asked Callum about a property deal in San Francisco. Before Callum could answer, Elise spoke up. The neighborhood is shifting, she said calmly. Foot traffic patterns changed after the new transit station opened. The location you are considering will have visibility issues within 2 years. Silence fell over the table. The executive blinked. How do you know that? I spent weeks on those streets. I watched where people walked, where they stopped, where they ignored. She shrugged. Sometimes the best market research comes from standing on a corner with nothing to lose. Callum smiled. Pride flickered in his eyes. After dinner, he pulled her into a quiet hallway near the back of the restaurant. His hands gripped her waist. Her back pressed against the wall. Their kiss was fire. Her fingers tugged at his tie. His palms slid up her sides. Heat built between them until the sound of footsteps made them break apart. Breathless, grinning, aware they were playing a dangerous game in a public place. They stepped outside together, his arm around her shoulders. Then she saw it. A familiar luxury car pulling up to the curb, black, sleek, a license plate she recognized instantly. Her blood turned to ice, one she hoped she would never see again. The luxury car door opened, and the last person Elise ever wanted to see stepped out. The man who once kicked her into the rain like trash. Rylan Atherton. He wore a charcoal suit. His hair was perfect. His smile was poison wrapped in silk. What would you do if the person who broke you showed up just when you finally started healing? Have you ever had an ex try to rewrite the story to look innocent? His eyes moved from Elise to Callum, then back again. Shock flickered across his face before he buried it under that practiced charm. Elise, he said smoothly, I have been looking everywhere for you. You left without a word. I was worried sick. Lies. Every syllable dripped with lies. She felt Callum tense beside her. His voice came out low. Do you know this man? He is my ex-husband, she said. The word tasted bitter. Rylan stepped closer. Sweetheart, we should talk. Just the two of us. Clear up this misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding. Callum leaned down, his lips near her ear, his hand pressed gently at the small of her back. You do not have to prove anything to him, he whispered. You are not his anymore. Warmth spread through her chest. She turned, cupped Callum's jaw, and kissed him. Strong, claiming, grateful, drawing courage from his touch. When she pulled back, Rylan's smile had cracked. Good. Let him see what he lost. She stepped toward her ex-husband, heels steady on the pavement, spine straight, voice calm. Rylan expected tears. He expected begging. He expected the weak woman he created. Instead, he got someone new. The first thing she said made his smile fade completely. You do not get to call me your wife anymore. He expected tears and apologies. Instead, she spoke like a woman who had finally remembered her worth. Rylan recovered fast. His expression shifted to wounded concern. Elise, please. I was stressed when everything happened. The miscarriage destroyed me too. I said things I did not mean. Have you ever rewritten your own ending after someone treated you like you were replaceable? Do you know that moment when you finally say what you should have said years ago? She let him finish. Then she spoke. You blamed me for losing our baby. You called me broken. You threw me out of our home in the middle of the night, with nothing but a nightgown. I walked barefoot through the rain because of you. His jaw tightened. That is not how I remember it. Then your memory is as broken as your promises. People on the sidewalk slowed to watch. Rylan noticed. His image was everything to him. Come home, he said quietly. This man is temporary. I can give you stability, security. She almost laughed. You gave me bruises. You gave me silence. You gave me loneliness in a house full of expensive things. She stepped closer, voice dropping. I am building my own life now. I do not need your stability. I do not want your security. And I will never belong to you again. Rylan stared at her like he was seeing a stranger. Then he turned and climbed back into his car. The door slammed. The engine roared. He disappeared down the street without looking back. Callum stepped outside only after it was over. He did not interrupt. He let her fight her own battle. Now he opened his arms. She walked into them and held on tight. His lips pressed to the top of her head, then her forehead, then her mouth. A slow, grounding kiss that shifted everything from past pain to present safety. Her fingers slid into his hair. The tension in her body melted. Anger became relief. Relief became desire. Later that night, on a quiet balcony overlooking Los Angeles, Callum reached into his pocket. The look on his face made her heart stop. This time, nobody was walking away. She once stood outside a mansion as a discarded wife. Now, she stood under the same kind of sky, holding out her hand for a ring she actually wanted. Weeks later, Callum drove her back to Atherton, not to haunt her, to replace old memories with new ones. What is the difference between being chosen out of convenience and being chosen out of love? Have you ever felt like someone truly picked you for who you are, not what you could give them? They walked through the same streets where she once stumbled barefoot and broken. But this time, his hand held hers. This time, she was not alone. He stopped on a quiet hill overlooking the bay. The sunset painted everything gold and pink. You are not a project to me, he said. You are not someone I rescued. You are my partner, my equal. Then he knelt. The ring was simple. A single diamond on a thin gold band. Nothing flashy, just right. Marry me, Elise. Not because you need me, because we choose each other. Tears fell down her cheeks. Happy tears. Hopeful tears. Yes, she whispered. Their wedding was small, held in a garden in Palo Alto. No hundreds of guests performing for cameras, just people who genuinely cared. That night, in a room lit by candles, he took his time. Every touch said she was cherished. Every kiss said she was wanted. She led just as much as he did. Their bodies moved together slowly, not rushing, not performing, just belonging. She fell asleep in his arms, finally understanding what marriage was supposed to feel like. Months later, in a clinic in Palo Alto, a nurse turned the screen toward them. The tiny heartbeat they heard shook them both to their core. The sound that once meant hope now came with a warning. This pregnancy would not be simple. Elise squeezed Callum's hand as the doctor explained. Her previous complications created risks. Delivery could be dangerous. Close monitoring was required throughout. Have you ever wanted something so badly you were willing to face real risk for it? Do you know a woman who carried both fear and hope in the same heartbeat? The doctor asked if she wanted to continue. She did not hesitate. This baby feels like redemption, she said quietly. I am not giving up. Callum was terrified. She could see it in his eyes, but he supported her choice without question. Then we do this together, he said. Whatever happens. They prepared the nursery in their Atherton home, painted the walls soft yellow, built a crib near the window where morning light came through, filled drawers with tiny clothes and soft blankets. Every item held a silent prayer. One night, late in the pregnancy, Elise stood before the mirror. Her body had changed. Stretch marks spread across her stomach. Her ankles were swollen. She felt heavy and awkward and nothing like the woman she used to be. Callum found her crying. He knelt in front of her, pressed his lips to her belly, then kissed each scar, each mark, each proof of what her body was doing to bring their daughter into the world. You are beautiful, he said against her skin. You have always been beautiful. They shared a gentle, careful moment that night. Less heat, more connection. His hands moved slowly over her changing body, reminding her she was still wanted, still desired, still his. 3 weeks before her due date, Elise woke in darkness. Pain shot through her stomach. Warm fluid soaked the sheets. She grabbed Callum's arm. It is time, she whispered. She did not walk out of the hospital. But a part of her did, wrapped in a soft blanket with her eyes. The delivery room was bright and cold. Machines beeped around her. Nurses moved with calm urgency. What do you call a woman who lost everything, rose again, loved one more time, and gave her life so someone else could start theirs? Callum stayed by her side through every contraction. His hand gripped hers. His voice stayed steady, even when his eyes showed fear. You are doing great, he kept saying. Stay with me. Complications began fast. Too much blood, dropping pressure. Doctors shouted orders. Someone pushed Callum aside to work on her. But Elise stayed focused on one thing. The baby. Her daughter came into the world crying. Loud, healthy, perfect. A nurse placed the tiny girl on Elise's chest for a few precious seconds. She looked down at that small face and smiled. Hi, baby, she whispered. Then the machines screamed louder. Callum fought back to her side as doctors worked desperately. Her hand found his face. Trembling fingers brushed his cheek. Take care of our baby, she breathed. Tell her I was not weak. I just loved her more than my own life. Her eyes closed. Her hand fell limp. The room blurred into chaos, but it was already too late. Months later, Callum stood on a sidewalk in Atherton. A bakery stood behind him. The sign above the door read Elise's in elegant gold letters. His daughter held his hand. 3 years old now. Dark hair like her mother. Stubborn chin like her father. The bakery funded scholarships for women leaving abusive homes. Every pastry sold carried Elise's memory forward. Inside, a photo hung near the register. Elise laughing, flower on her cheek, joy in her eyes. Callum lifted his daughter so she could see. That is Mama, the little girl said. Yes, he replied. That is Mama. He kissed his daughter's forehead and carried her inside, where the smell of fresh bread filled the air. Elise fell from a mansion to the sidewalk. She rose again with the help of one kind stranger. And in the end, her story lived on in the child she never got to raise. If this story moved you, share it so more people can hear it. Drop a comment for Elise, for every woman who had to start over from nothing, and for every person out there who chose to help instead of hurt. Her name was Elise, and she mattered.